Well, hello everyone.
What's up?
Here we are, me and CAYA, with face masks and with incense and with oranges to talk about self-love.
Oh my god, perfect topic
Yeah,
for me.
I know.
Yes,
I love this.
we have live audience this episode.
I was
So
gonna say, have you tried loving yourself?
I have been trying,
But
Kaya.
then I figured that wouldn't be appropriate given you had not been exposed to our teachings today.
yes, so
So,
let's do it. So
teachings.
we were we were thinking like all throughout the week what we should make our episode on, because like we did the first one and it was like, what else do we know anything about? And then we got to talking, and I have this habit of looking at the mirror and be like, wow, I am the most beautiful woman alive. Like, this is fucking crazy. I am so amazing and I am in love with myself. And then I asked, CAYA was next to me, and I asked CAYA if she's in love with herself romantically. She was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? This is kind of weird. And so we I challenged CAYA to pursue herself romantically for until this podcast, and it was like a few days ago, so for a few days. And let's hear what was your reaction to that conversation.
Well, I think just me laughing just now again. Just, yeah. I think I really have to rationally be like, all power to you. But I don't get it intuitively. There's nothing about me that is like, yeah, that is something that I need to do in that way. And yeah, I was also just a bit confused how that happens, why it happens, you might want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it required effort, a choice, whether you like made a choice to do this. Yeah.
So maybe I can give a little context on how I got there, and then we can hear about your actual experience with it. If you have tried anything. So I think for me, like, it was at some point that I realized that the way that I speak to myself is quite negative. It was like a few years back, and then I started like with this mindset of like treating myself as I would treat a really good friend. Like, would you, if a friend is upset about, I don't know, having period pain or just sad generally, would you be like, no, you bitch, you gotta get up and do your shit anyways? Or would you, hug her, comfort her? Like, how would you react to a good friend? And I think that's when I started like being more intentional with my relationship to myself. And and it looked a bunch of different ways. It's kind of hard to remember because it was like at least 4 or 5 years ago. But I think this specifically, like the pursuing yourself romantically, it's like also stemming from like this whole trend and like the idea of like self-love, right? But like, what does that mean? Like, what does it actually mean to love yourself? And I think also having the experience of like having a boyfriend that I really, really loved last summer kind of made me have more thoughts about love. Like, what does that mean? How does that look like? How would I want to be loved? And I think I also explained it to you when we talked about it. Like, I think the first step in understanding how to pursue ourselves romantically and in the purpose of like um, being more compassionate with ourselves, like giving more care to ourselves, like prioritizing ourselves more, is to understand what we consider to be romantic love. Like, how does it differentiate from a platonic love? How does it differentiate from motherly love or like sexual attraction, right? Because romantic love doesn't even at all has to do necessarily with anything sexual. What does it mean to you?
To
like romantic love, what does it mean to you? How would you define romantic love for you?
That is such a tough question, to be honest. I have no idea. Because I'm kind of confused about the whole the exclusivity of it just doesn't really sit right with me currently. And so that's making me question it a lot. Like, where does friendship move into romantic love, and where does that line even need to be there, and why? Yeah, so I'm just a bit confused about that question in general, but I do talk about it with people, and it seems like I tend to agree with the the idea that someone is committed to taking you into consideration when they're making their decisions that might affect you. Which I do think I agree with, but I also think that should go with friendship. And maybe people aren't hurt as much by things that other people do, or don't feel affected as much if people do those things, because they don't expect to have that kind of authority over someone else's behavior, because it's not something that's like in their agreement. But yeah, I do think it could apply to friendships.
All friendships, do you think?
Are you thinking specific ones that might not, or?
No, I mean, like, because that sounds like something that not you wouldn't necessarily be able to do for a lot of people at once.
Yeah, true. I mean, there's like acquaintances, and then there's like people you hang out with, and then there's friends. So I guess maybe it's the friends category that it applies to.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think that maybe what differentiates a partner, or not a partner, but like something that we have romantic love towards, is like maybe the ranking, or like the frequency. Like, I wouldn't always think of all of my friends. I would sometimes think about them, and sometimes about them, sometimes about them. But with a romantic partner, maybe there is more like accountability. Also because, like you said, which might be like it is a consequence of just how we determine like the deal of friendship or the deal of relationship. Like, our action might have more impact on a romantic partner than just a friend. Because we don't necessarily expect.
But why is that though? Like, what? Can you think of any like particular example where you would take into consideration your romantic interest, but not your friendship interest?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think, for example, last year when we were in San Francisco, and I was with my ex and also still living with my friends, I would prioritize to spend a lot of time with him, not necessarily prioritize to spend a lot of time with my friends. And that's also because I think...
Yeah, I'm taking this off.
Yeah, that's...
This is ignoring me.
Like the whole mask?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's keep the hairband because it's quite
and
adorable.
Juice.
Yeah. Swim in that juice.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying you would prioritize spending time with him?
and not necessarily with my friends. And I think maybe that's also like, and I, because that's the thing, right? Like, it's all individual. It's always individual. So it's not like, in a sense, we're just talking to like hear about the other person's perspective right now. I mean, so it's like it's super fair if it's different.
Oh, for different people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's also not only you individual, but also how you relate to each individual.
Yeah.
Then again, yeah.
But I think that so I would define romantic love, let's put it at that, as someone that I exponentially more than others like give attention and care towards, in a way that is almost as much as towards myself, or even sometimes more. And that I like want them, I really want them to be always happy. I only want the best for them. And that could apply also towards I don't know, my sister, for example. But I think it manifests differently. So like with my sister, I might want to like teach her, you know, about life, or like be there for her when she's sad. But with a romantic partner, I think there is something more active and like a lifestyle about, you know, it's kind of like a lifestyle. Okay, I'm gonna take it off also.
Okay.
I missed this look. So I think that's one thing that I would define as romantic love. And it's like, I think also it definitely depends on like attachment styles. Which, do you know attachment styles?
You've mentioned them before, but
So I will share also with the audience. So attachment styles is basically like a theory in psychology that there are three main ways that people attach to other people. And it's usually informed by either your childhood or like traumatic or like very significant events in your life. And the three types are secure, avoidant, and anxious. And you can go and dive into that a lot. Maybe we will link some videos of like some videos explaining it. But secure is basically people that attach healthy, like they don't take things too personal, but they don't like distance themselves when it's to just kind of like know how to handle things, emotions. Avoidant is like sometimes when people feel like it's too intense, like a romantic relationship or something like that, and they would take distance, like that would be their coping mechanism. And that could manifest in different ways. It can also manifest in like, oh, suddenly like the shape of her nose is really annoying and you cannot stand it and you have to break up with her because of that. That's usually an avoidant strategy. And anxious, which is moi, is people that seek a lot of affirmations, that in their childhood they got affection, but not like consistently. Yeah. So they believe that love is conditional and or like earnable, like you need to earn it or you cannot be safe, like secure in it, sure of it. So you need a lot of like affirmations, and if you don't get it or you feel unsafe, then you can react quite extremely and maybe even like violently, not violently like hitting people, but like making a tantrum, you know. And I think that's also that whole thing was about saying that because I am anxious, I think that is also why it's more of a lifestyle, because like I need to affirm myself constantly that I love me, to feel safe in it, and like reminders are really like important.
Also in your relationship to yourself.
I think so, yeah. Like I notice that when I don't practice self-love or like self-courtship, and that's also different levels, right, of love, like
courtship.
courtship. Like when you start, you're like really affectionate and like you have all this energy and you want to win them over, and when you feel like safer and more comfortable, then it becomes more of a routine. And I think both are wonderful, but specifically in the courtship, what accent was that? No. um, I noticed that when I practice self-love, or when I stop rather, I like negative narratives will come back into my head and stuff. So I do feel like it has an effect on me, at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
That does put some things into perspective, I have to say.
In
That
what
like
way?
that it's interesting that like the attachment styles don't seem to only apply to your relationships to other people, but also to yourself. Like just generally, maybe your sense of self-worth and how if you don't get that affirmation from other people, it's also wise to have systems in place to get it from yourself, just so you're not dependent on other people. Like it's nice to have yourself as a stable foundation. So that makes a lot of sense. But then also, I've just been thinking that maybe the way I take myself into consideration is a lot less intentional. And maybe in that also easier for me to have my boundaries crossed in areas I'm not familiar with, like situations that I haven't seen before, or like that it's difficult for me to keep practicing, or not keep practicing because it's not like I'm actively practicing it, but like when I'm baffled by a new situation, it might be difficult for me to actively realize that what is happening is that I'm not secure with myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can get defensive, which is not great because it's like I don't realize it.
Defensive towards who?
Towards whoever
Baffled you?
Yeah, baffled. I remember actually this one time, I don't even remember what happened, but I remember afterwards being like, what the hell happened there? Like, it was in the elevator at Turk, and you probably don't remember this, but you said something about like, for the life of me, like hypothetical example, you were like, yeah, and you didn't even share your chocolate with me. Something along those lines. Like, it wasn't even that big of a deal.
Okay.
And I was like, and I like instantly went into this sort of like defense thing where I felt like maybe you felt hurt by what I did. And then I felt like I had to defend myself, that I did not have bad intentions, and that like, and I instantly went into this like mode. And then you left with the elevator, and I was like, what the fuck happened there? Like, why was I so defensive there? I don't know why that just came up in my mind, but it might be quite exemplary for that.
Like you feel like when you feel unsure of why you are, of what to do, like where do you draw the line between just kind of like not knowing how to act in life to like self-confidence?
How I draw that relationship?
Yeah, because you talked about being like unsecure sometimes when you're baffled, and I wonder what exactly you meant by that.
What is this?
I don't know. Is it your phone or?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
It's okay.
you were just loving the tunes.
Let me think about this for a second. Why did I bring this up? Just because I think about
Yeah, I feel like we've gone to a little bit of a theoretical space.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something more concrete.
Yes.
Do you know what love languages are?
Yes.
Do you care to explain to our audience?
We have.
So generally, it's
I was flexing my muscle.
in the
I can
weird
explain
camera.
this, yeah. Well, it looks like that's so weird. Okay, anyways, we have words of affirmation.
But explain what it is first.
Okay, sorry, you're right. Love languages are the ways that you either express love or prefer to receive love. And so there's 5 different ones. Now I shall list them. Words of affirmation, touch, physical touch, gifts, quality time,
Acts of service.
acts of service.
And I think that it is such a powerful tool, especially in relationships. And I know that intuitively, like, everyone's like, yeah, I'd love to have all of them. Thank you. But practically, like, if you really notice, like, notice when you feel loved when someone is doing something for you. Like, is it when someone makes you coffee in the morning so you don't have to do it yourself? Or when someone, like, gives you a gift, like, is it, like, nice to have?
Can the audience ask you a question?
Yes.
What are your love languages?
Funny you ask!
But I'll just finish about this point that I think it's really important to have because because then you can have better communication with your partner. Like I, for example, had a partner that was really into, he expressed his love in physical touch. And I would ask for words of affirmations. And he would give me physical touch. And it's like, it's nice that you did that, but the love is not going forward. Yes. So I think that's really important. Like when you talk about it and you understand, then you can either interpret like, he's showing me love right now. Or you can try to adapt yourself to what other people do. And it's not necessarily romantic partners, it's just in general. And yes, Kaya, do you want to answer our question from the audience?
What
is your...
my love language? Yeah. I think the way I express love often is through acts of service. I'm seeing
a nod from the audience.
Yeah, nod from the audience. And the way acts of service or gifts, they're like kind of intertwined in my opinion. And then how I like to receive love is a difficult question.
What are your acts of service that you like to give?
Making people food. Taking Dylan to get chicken tenders.
Yes.
I don't know, I guess it's like trying to make people happy.
Yeah.
And how I like to receive. Maybe you can go first. I have to think about this one.
Okay, so how I like to give love is gifts, acts of service, but specific ones. Like I would not like to wash someone's dishes because I'm like, this is your job. Like, but I do love cooking for people. Like really like cooking for people. And I would also say words of affirmation. I also really like words of affirmation as love language. Yes.
Does it just come as someone who's like not super into the realm of words of affirmation, like they make me uncomfortable sometimes, maybe not always.
Receiving?
Yeah.
That's
like
super
I don't know if I can take this compliment, but as someone who like gives them, do they just come naturally to you? Like they just kind of like
yes. Yes, absolutely. It's like I look at someone, I'm like filled with this feeling, and then I express it. Like, you're so beautiful, or like, like something like that. I think that's like another important differentiate like thing about love languages. I think it's good to know of other people, because I think that when you like ask and then you receive, like it feels fake. It's not. It doesn't apply. But when it's like an authentic expression of love, then I think it's pretty knowing.
Mm-hmm.
The audience thanks you for answering the question, and the audience will take leave because the audience has an assignment.
Take a tangerine
If you want.
in the lower left locker.
Okay, I'll consider it. It can be my gift for finally doing some productive stuff. Lovely podcast. I'm a big fan.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So how I like to receive.
I can also go first if you still need more questions.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought we said that. Go ahead.
Receiving, I like receiving words of affirmations very much so. I love receiving gifts, and it's not like, I think the reason that I love gifts is because it's an expression that throughout your day that you randomly went through, you thought something reminded you of me, or like I was on your mind, and you took the extra step to like stop and take this thing, and it can be a leaf, like it doesn't have to be something that you buy, and made it all the way to me. Like I feel like that's a good expression of appreciation. And I think I have a complicated relationship with touch. I really love touch, but only when I feel very comfortable with someone and like and want it, like if I'm angry at someone and they touch me, like it's horrible. Like I hate it. And I think also with quality time, like I do enjoy spending time with people that I love, obviously, but it's not like something that I need to know that I am loved. Like if people kind of can't make it because they're very busy, I think I understand it. If other like love languages are in action,
Yeah.
Like if someone like cannot meet with me for like a month or a few months, but we talk and they express that they love me, it's not like I won't believe them. And I think the other way around, it might be so. That I will not believe that someone loves me,
If they don't tell you, or if they don't give you like gifts that show them
if
they
they don't,
think of you.
yes. If they like, yeah, let's meet up, and that's it, without like another like specific expression of love, then yeah, I would not feel loved. And the same goes with acts of service in receiving. Like, no, like you should wash the dishes. Yes, it is not going the extra mile. It is doing your job. Yes, thank you very much. So this is how we perceive acts of service in receiving love.
All right. Do you think it's in any way related to your attachment style?
I mean, probably, yes. But I think different people that has anxious attachment style might want different things. Like quality time or things like that. Or touch. So I think not necessarily, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. You're just buying time, aren't you?
Yeah, because I really don't know how to answer this question.
You want me to try to help you in the thinking process?
Yes.
Okay. Think of someone that you love. Think of a moment that you were like, "Aw." What happened in that moment? Very helpful, I know. Like a concrete example.
What I really love is when me and my little sister send each other pictures of smiley faces that we see randomly in places. And whenever she sends me one, it's so like I feel like that's the kind of thing where it's like you stopped and thought of me and sent this to me. I don't know what that qualifies as, but like a gift, I suppose.
Not even like it doesn't have to be classified to these love languages. And also they added 2 more, I think. Actually, yeah.
Rude of them to update us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might not know because I think I feel quite secure quite easily, which might be a stupid thing to say because maybe I don't and I just never go out of my comfort zone. But I do feel very steadily loved by whoever I think is close to me.
And well, I guess from the outside, I think that you spend a lot of quality time with people that you consider close to you, from how I see it, at least at Minerva.
Yeah, but but I wouldn't necessarily say that if I don't spend quality time with someone, that means
that you feel less loved by them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe. It's just that I, like, if I don't have quality time with someone for a long, long time, that doesn't mean I don't believe they don't love me anymore, which is also valid. So maybe, yeah. Let's boil it down to quality time.
Sure, and getting pictures of smileys. Or like when people think about you and express that. I think that might be words of affirmations, actually.
Yeah, actually, if people like send you stuff that reminds you of them, yeah, I appreciate that.
So I think that maybe also explains like the different attitudes towards the pursuing yourself romantically. That, you know, like I think when you have more like well-defined how you love people or how you like to be loved, then it's a lot easier to engage in that. But I guess when it's more like abstract, then it's like it's kind of harder to turn it into a practice.
Right, because for you, if it's words of affirmation, then you can just swing over into the mirror, give her a wink, and tell her you love her.
Yeah.
And easy as that.
Yeah, or gifts. Like giving yourself gifts or... Yeah.
Yeah, I do think I do that, though.
You give yourself gifts.
I'm like, I deserve a snack. And, yeah. Or, like, that's maybe one of the intentional ones that I do. I'm like, I really should cook for myself. As much as it's, like, maybe not worth the time and the effort because it's cheaper to buy other food. I just feel like putting the time and attention and effort into making this for myself is like an act of love, you might call it.
I think that's actually a really good example of like being like, not only do I want to give to you, I want you to have the best. Like I want you to have good things in general. So it's like, I will use my example from the morning. I was making breakfast and I had vegetables that I made like a week ago that kind of turned rotten, and I was like, no, but it's so much, so I'll just like cut them up and put in the bowl and eat rotten vegetables. And I ended up not because it was disgusting, but I would never do that to our partner, like someone that I'm interested in, you know? Like I would never do that because I just
eat it.
Yeah, like I would not want him to have, you know, diarrhea and all that jazz.
Because you're gonna have to clean it up.
Exactly, that is the type of intimacy. No, but and I think that's like something that I like caught myself in, like, and often in life, like sometimes when I would be like really intensely into like a project or something, I would forget to drink, or I would forget to eat, or I would like all these stuff that are kind of in a sense sacrificing yourself. But like, why do we sacrifice ourselves? Like, we are the most important people in our lives. We're the most consistent people for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's always gonna be you.
Yeah. So I think like that's something that is really interesting, and it's like in a relationship that is like very long, 24 years, 21 years, and going. Sometimes you need to
Going strong,
Yeah.
people.
I think sometimes you just need to um, light up the spark again. You know?
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question? Do you think you've ever accidentally kind of broken up with yourself?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
Or being like, I think we need a break?
I think in times of okay, I can go as deep as depression, but I will do something a bit more casual. I think in times of distraction, when I'm very like towards the outside and like reactive to the outside, and like either with work or if I have a moment with myself, I would be on my phone or watch TV or stuff that like hold me from engaging in my with myself. I think that's time of like a breakup that might not even be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think necessarily that there was ever a moment that I was like, although there was definitely times that I like hated myself, like when I was a teen. But that's kind of the thing, right? Like you can hold on to something very tight, which is also maybe not positive because like then it doesn't allow you to change. Like for example, I have this model of who I am, and I hold on to it because I think this is good, and then like I hold myself back from change, or rather when change happens, inevitably I'm not happy with it. But also like pushing away, that's also engaging with it. Like it will not be pushed away if you're not engaging with it. So I think both of them is not actually breakup. It's like having kind of a toxic relationship to either side. But I think that's kind of the point, no? Like you cannot break up with yourself. It is not possible.
But you can drift apart, though.
Yes.
You'll still be married.
Yeah, and you cannot find a different partner in that sense. So it's kind of like maybe in more like traditional societies that like you get married. Like the divorce is like super like not taboo. You're kind of screwed, like you're with this person like for better and for worse, so might as well work on it so it will be good and not bad. Did you ever feel like I feel like that question came from somewhere.
Juicy. I'm kind of thinking about the summer and how sort of reconnecting with all my like dingly thoughts when I was little. Like sort of not having anything to do, but like not having anything that required my brain particularly sort of allowed me to wander off again. And I really enjoyed that. Also the writing exercise that we did, where basically we like write for 5-10 minutes about anything, and it really sort of like some days I look at it and I'm like, wow, I feel like this is really a representation of exactly what I'm thinking, and I enjoy it. Like when I read it, I think it's fun, and I think in those moments I appreciate myself, and I appreciate that I can. I appreciate that I can appreciate myself, and I maybe don't think I always prioritize allowing that part of myself to develop or stay around. And so maybe like sometimes I tend to drift off by focusing on other things that are important but not to her.
Like what?
I mean, it really depends. It could be school, but right now I do feel like I allow myself to sort of bounce back every time. So like sometimes when I'm doing my readings for school, I'll like go into my own documents and take notes on the things that I want to think about. And I like add to that sort of archive, and I'm like building this kind of thing where like the moment that I have time to think about this, I'll have substance. And it's nice to sort of like proactively feed this part of me. And yeah, I do think that sometimes I drift off when other things seemingly become more important. But over the summer I have learned that this is the version of myself that I like most, that makes me the happiest, that makes me appreciate myself the most. And yeah, I do think that investing in that and allowing myself to bounce back to her is what is how I should be showing myself love.
That is so beautiful. And I think that's like, if we're taking into an analogy of a relationship, I think that really makes sense in times in your life that you're really busy and maybe you have less time to like devote to your partner, and you can like do your thing and still know that they're there and bounce it. Like that is also what I mean to say is a super valid mechanism of dealing with life getting busy, and that's really beautiful. And I want to also say that I hear in your example quality time of like thinking about things, like allowing you to delve into something with yourself, and words of affirmation in that sense of like, I thought of you. I'm writing this thing down because I thought it would interest you for later.
Yeah.
So I think that's really beautiful. And I think that's also a really, like, side note, been feeling in this conversation that maybe we are just not in agreement about this. Because I felt like, I don't know, about like this whole concept of like being romantic with yourself, or like being like this type of thing. But I think it's just out of the nature of our love languages.
Yeah. Yours is a lot more expressive.
Yeah, and I was like, I do not like quality time actually, and I find it really hard to like go and spend a day with myself only. I'm kind of like, yeah. And the way that I show love for myself, it's different. And I think that's really cool in the sense of like analyzing what is yours and like embracing differences, because I think also we're very much like exposed to all this, to the whole like all the content about self-love on Instagram and like I don't know if you are, but not so much.
No, I think that's just your algorithm really bad.
Yeah, probably. But it's like I feel like it is more prevalent now.
Yeah.
And to take it with a grain of salt and like be like, whatever I see on the internet is might be nice, but like I have to come back to myself and kind of understand myself first to have it better.
Yeah, because you can like, I don't know, this may be a bit too stereotypical of the self-love algorithm, but maybe it's just the extremes that I get suggested. So let's say like the way that a self-love influencer might tell you to show love to yourself is to make yourself a bath and put some candles and get yourself some incense and some face masks, and you sit down
some oranges
and enjoy yourself. and you're like, yes, you deserve this. You worked hard. But then if your way of expressing love to yourself is not quality time, or that specific type of quality time, or like if you wouldn't do this for someone else, make a bath for them, make them candles, like it might, I mean, maybe that works for you, but like I think it might suggest that that is the only way because it's an accessible way.
Yeah, and also if you wouldn't want someone else to do that for you.
Yeah, also that
Yeah,
too.
because
I need you a bath. Thanks.
I have been trying to take baths since I was a teenager and I first was exposed to this idea, and I just suffer every time because I'm like, well, what now?
What do I do?
Like, I put the thing, it exploded, it made the colors. So I super agree with you. Yes.
It made the colors.
I think that's, yeah.
Okay, so maybe to work from there, would you say there's ways, maybe because this has been in your life for quite some years where you've done this intentionally, and so I can imagine you've seen it in other people, either not being done or like the process of making it being done. Do you have any experience of how people discover what works for them, and like any tips in that regard?
Well, yes. But it's not super structured, so stay with me.
Bear with me.
Bear with me, yes. I think a lot of it, like the first base of it, is to be reflected, like reflecting on your life, like to notice your life, not just let them pass you, but like notice how you feel in certain moments, what, like if you're angry, like take a moment to note that I was angry at that point. Don't necessarily try to understand at that point why, because it's influencing the way that you see the situation and it might just escalate. But like pay attention to your life and notice what you experience throughout the day. So that's one thing. I think that like already starts. The second thing I would say is analogies are good, I think. Like even with your parents or like whatever relationship you have in your life that has love in it, just yeah, just try to pay attention to what makes you feel happy, what kind of things you tend to do. Like for example, for my birthday when I was 9-year old, I bought my family gifts. Like that was what made me happy, and a lot of time, like also remember that often when we give, it gives us a lot. Like we're very happy from it. So maybe that's an emotion that you can detect within the experience. Because I think most of us have enough life experience to notice a few moments of these things. And I think that definitely like even though like we just saw, like it might not represent obviously all the way that you receive and give love, but this categorization, thank you, of these love languages do allow you to make a bit more sense of things. Yeah. So I think that's the second one. Like journaling a lot. I think if you have like a certain question in mind, just start journaling, and just pay attention. And I think a lot of it, and it's like a mega thing, right? It's not like, oh, easy peasy, check. Like it's very complicated, but I think a more successful process would be when we detach ourselves from what we think should be and just accept what is. because I've been taking baths for years and years and years because I thought that what should be. And so I kind of almost like put on it, like, yes, I am enjoying this because like I should, right? But then if we choose to just accept things as they are, I did not like that, I did like that, it made me feel this way, it made me feel that way, then it helps, especially when it comes to relationships, because there are so much like representations of what relationships should be that it's like really hard to detach ourselves and just like actually listen to what is good for us.
Mm-hmm. Maybe also on that note, the not liking to take baths note is that I think you're right in the sense that you can either force yourself into that template and be like, well, I guess this is how I express love to myself. Maybe I should keep trying and it'll give me fruits after enough tries. Or you can sort of be like, well, I didn't enjoy that, so I guess self-love is not for me. And then you just kind of stop trying. Like, I do believe that there's plenty of ways people can love themselves and feel comfortable with themselves and find confidence in themselves and comfort in themselves. It's just all in different ways, and so I don't think that you shouldn't give up on trying to find ways to, because I actually talked to a friend about this at some point, like, if you don't know how to express love to yourself, finding a way to express love to yourself is expressing love to yourself.
I love that. Yeah, I think that also brings a good point of like, I don't think like an intuitive thing would be like, try different things and see how it goes. I don't think that's a good method, because I think that when we try something with the intention of it working, then we build an expectation that is usually beyond what could be. And definitely, like, if our expectation is here and it gets there, then it's like, okay. But if it's just a bit lower, then it's like, it sucks. And rather, when you come with no expectations, or you reflect in hindsight rather than building towards, then there isn't this comparison to what it should have been. It's just like kind of observing what is. Observing, yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's also like a point of like, expectations, I think, are our worst enemy. And so in terms of experimentation, do it only if you know that you can do it without any expectations of a certain outcome. Because, like, you don't necessarily learn a lot about yourself, except for it's hard to not have your expectations met. Yeah. And also, like, to say that maybe in love, it is better to just kind of go with what feels good, right? Because, like, it's not a place of necessarily intentional growth. But in general, in life, it's not like what feels good is necessarily what is good, or what doesn't feel good is necessarily what is not good. Like, I don't like doing homework, but it's good for me because I'm learning, and I do very much love eating donuts. But it doesn't mean that I should always do it, because it's not necessarily healthy for me. But maybe for expressing love, it is. And that's good. So I think that's also...
Preach.
Yeah.
Let's go treat ourselves to some ice cream afterwards.
Yes. Maybe we can finish by sharing one way that we haven't mentioned yet, that we showed love to ourselves in the past week, and what we would want, one thing that we would want to like show love to ourselves next week.
Ooh!
Mm-mm-mm.
Well, one thing that I did was cook for myself, and I spent like 2 hours in the kitchen, and I was like, this is so much time I could be doing assignments, but no, I wanted to feed myself and enjoy it.
Beautiful.
And one way that I would like to express love to myself is tying it back beautifully to last week's episode. In case you haven't watched it, you can go do that when Noah's finished saying her things. Is, I think, building a sort of like devoting time, and it doesn't have to be like that I block in my calendar time that I think about this, but just like realizing that this is something I find important, and then trying to find moments in the day that make sense for me to think about this, is sort of like imagining what I would want a future to look like where I allow myself, where I have the possibility to constantly bounce back to this like thread of me that I enjoy being most, and building what I do now so that I have this stability in the future that I can do this and devote time to me and to what I want to do rather than. Does that make sense?
Maybe you can rephrase in a bit more practical.
Okay. So, let's say I want to be a writer or a filmmaker because I feel like in this moment that is the best way that I can be close to her. If I want to do that, I need to learn how to write, how to make film. And so I can devote time to work towards that ideal.
Beautiful.
And that ideal might change over time, but I have learned that that is one of her weaknesses. That she does not like putting effort in. And so we need to help her a bit. So yeah, I need to help her overcome that.
Beautiful.
And yeah.
I love it. That is like, it's not even like courting anymore. It's like working on the relationship. I love it. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Wow! Oh my gosh, that was so good. Okay, way that I expressed love for myself last week, I think, was allowing myself to simply rest for a full day, like not doing any work. And I think,
sorry, the way you phrased that sounded like the girl who snacks always on allowing myself to rest for a full day. Now I took a nap. It was beautiful, gorgeous, scrumptious. Sorry, keep
that
going.
is my dream. I want to become her. But no, like I woke up and I got coffee and I laid in the bed in the sun for like a whole while, and I cuddled with my friends, like things that are like just having a really nice day together, like I guess quality time with your partner without like. And I think what I would want to do next week more is to express to myself that I believe in me, because I feel like that's another thing, coming back to our episode from last week. So I was like, yes, I found all these ways to keep being motivated, and like a week has passed and the motivation has dropped. So I think like something that will manifest that in my life and like remind myself, and like that also, not only that it's something that I'm interested in, but it's something that I'm capable of, that something that like someone sees value in me doing that, even if it's me.
Even if it's me.
I think that's yes, that could be cute. So maybe that would look like manifestations in the mirror, like manifestation are usually in like present tense. Like I am interning there, I am a political mediator, I am loved, I am I believe in myself. So I think that would be a very cute thing to do. To freak
Okay.
out all the girls in the shower.
I just thought of how funny it would be to insert the target meme where you said ta-ta-ta-ta.
Did I do that?
You did say,
Oh.
I am ta-ta-ta-ta target. Anyways.
How did I not think about that? Okay, well,
That
thank
is
you.
1 hour.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, do we have any ideas of what we're going to be talking about next week? Or is that still a surprise?
There's still surprise, and moreover, if you want to leave
In
suggestions
the comments
in the comment below, feel free. Should we do the followers thing? Followers, I love you.
Oh, right. That's what we said. Yes.
Okay,
Let's go.
Okay. Followers, I love you.
We love you. We are,
Okay.
we are unity.
Followers, we love you.
No one will ever
Beautiful.
make it here, so